This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability and a generous investment by Julianne Wrigley.
American suburbs they think it's very elegant not to have sidewalks, it's fancy, it looks rural, Yeah. It's funny because even in Canada, where they have a lot of suburbs, for example, there always are sidewalks. This is Colombia, typical mess, Bogotá. And then I was almost impeached. I had my hair black before these battles, So people told me, Mayor, you're so stubborn because there is enough space for cars to park as well as for people to walk by. So we had to tell people, look, we tend to think that sidewalks are relatives of streets because they live next to each other. However, sidewalks, different from streets, they are not for getting from one place to another. They can be useful for that, but sidewalks are for talking, for playing, for doing business, for kissing. Sidewalks really are much closer relatives of parks or plazas than they are of streets. And to say that in a sidewalk there is enough space to park cars as well as for people to walk by is equivalent to saying that you could turn the main park or the main plaza of a city into an open-air parking lot so long as you leave enough space between cars for people to walk by. See, these are very subjective issues, but this is not something we are talking about Colombia. We are talking about New York or Phoenix. We could take the cars that are parked in the curbside and get rid of this parking, make the sidewalk bigger. Why not? Who decided that we should give this space to cars? Did anybody vote? We'll go into that later. This is just to show you this is politics. This is Gallup poll. Now, when I was mayor, when I arrived, see, before I was mayor, this is the blue. The blue is, do you approve or disapprove of Mayor Peñalosa? Here, 77% disapprove, 18% approve. I was public enemy number one. Happily, by the end of my term, 70% of the people had the highest positive image any mayor had in Bogotá, but it's difficult. What I'm trying to say also to politicians and to societies, it's difficult to make change, especially when you're trying to make change to create more equality, even if people like it afterwards. So we make sidewalks, we make big sidewalks, big bikeways. Ideally, sidewalks should continue at grade, at the intersections. So it's clear that it's cars that are entering the pedestrian space and not vice versa, that the city belongs to people, not to cars. Like in Paris here, ideally, let's go, we should have any sidewalk in the planet should at least as big that 3 wheelchairs, one next to each other, could go easily anywhere without any obstacles. Now, I'm going to show you now, this is very important what I'm going to show because, look, by the way, Colombia, we are a very poor society. If we have a very good growth rates, maybe in 100 years, we'll have the income per capita the United States has. But still, there are some interesting examples. Bogotá is a large city, 8 million city, twice Phoenix. And this is what I think should be in the future. Some bicycle highway, Porvenir Promenade. This is what I think the future American city may have. I'll show you. We did about a 20-mile bicycle highway through some of the city areas, the very poor areas where the city was growing. See, even underground cables, underground cables, fancy, and this is, initially was like this, then the city grew around it, and this is something that completely transforms life. Look, the city is only consolidating there. It's not yet finished. But imagine what you can do with 20 miles going through a very dense city because Phoenix has about 20 inhabitants per hectare. Bogotá has 215 inhabitants per hectare. It's one of the highest density cities in the world. And to have something like this is very impressive. So you can change life, when we have these illegal neighborhoods, we first made the pedestrian part. Later, we'll pave the streets for cars. But first, pedestrians. Here, you see the parks, the pedestrian, the bicycle, and we'll pave the streets for cars later. Of course, most people in this neighborhood don't have cars. Almost no. I would love to pave the street for cars too, but I want for people to feel important, respected, not because they have a car, but because they have a national identity in their pocket, because they are a human being. I would say that any infrastructure in a city should reflect that human beings are sacred. Anything that you do in a city, the way to measure a new building or a new road or anything you do is, does it make the space around it more pleasant to be in, to walk in, to play in? That is the way. If you have a new building, the discussion is not where the building is 20-story high or 2-story high. I think this is a very relevant discussion. We'll go into this. Much more important is, does it improve? Does it make more pleasant the space around it, more attractive? This is much more important than whether it has 20 or 30-story high or not. It's not irrelevant. So this is Porvenir Promenade. See these streets, no pavement, no pavement. All of them have running water. We have great schools that we put, everything, parks, no pavement. First, the pedestrian highway here. Now, how would your quality of life improve, even in a suburb where probably many of you live? If you will have a 50-mile pedestrian or bicycle highway a few blocks from your home to go on bicycle or just to sit there and read the paper and watch people go by, it would be fantastic. How about a city with hundreds or thousands of miles of this infrastructure like this in Germany? And it's so easy to do. If we are going to do totally new cities in the US, like we mentioned, 70 million new homes, we could do something completely different, because clearly we're not going to build everything just around where we have now. So this, like in this, it's in Berlin, this or this kind of bicycle highways in Europe. I mean, the new American city could be crisscrossed by hundreds and even thousands of miles of pedestrian and bicycle-only promenades, highways and greenways. These kind of things, it'd be very easy to do. It would change life, and it would be a pleasure to ride bicycles there.
This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability for educational and non-commercial use only.